where we believe that God lives. We welcome you. And we thank you for joining us, including our friends and our brethren in the Caribbean and further field. We thank God for you that you be with us week after week. So this time we pause to say welcome and God bless you.
This evening we want to continue discussing our topic, working together. And we need to say from the inception that as a nation we need to go forward. And if we're going to go forward, if we're going to make the kind of progress that we are so desirous of achieving, the whole concept of forgiveness is critical to this entire process, because we cannot go forward where there is strife and bickering and fighting, and therefore forgiveness is so important. When we talk about forgiveness, we must also consider some other important concepts like mercy and justice and humility, because these are, strong terms that we're advocating. And if we're going to see forgiveness, if we're going to see mercy being dispensed, justice and so on, it calls for a kind of leadership with tremendous courage and a resolve to make those kinds of moves, because it is not easy to be somebody of strength and stature, and you still have to take the low ground, and so that is so important. So we need to see a demonstration of courage where these concepts are concerned. And even as we consider forgiveness, it is clear it is needed at different levels. At a personal level, because there are times when you have to actually take the low ground in order to advance. We need to see forgiveness taking place at the level of the family, at the level of the community, and ultimately at the national level. So it is only then, as we continue to strive to forgive each other, as we continue to dispense justice and mercy, and we humble ourselves in the presence of a holy God, we actually can make the kind of progress that we are advocating in this nation. So this evening we want to continue our discussion, working together, gentlemen.
Look, we are in a tight spot as a people, as a nation. We've just had something wonderful happen to us. The environment is filled with an air of optimism and hope. A kind of an excitement. Like, you have a newborn baby, that kind of situation. So while you have opportunities and you have all those different things that people choose to believe, there are some also threats. We have to determine how we will go forward. As Chuck Colson, the late Dr. Chuck Colson asked the question, how shall we now live? We have to determine how we are going to go forward. We are advocating we can't go forward half and half. We are strong in that regard that we cannot go forward divided. We must go forward together. As a matter of fact, that's the only way we can guarantee the kind of development that we're looking. So all must come on board. All must come on board. Yeah, unite. And community leaders, national leaders, business leaders, political leaders, we have to come on board. When we look at Christian theology, there are some philosophical principles that guide Christian philosophy. And they're principally faith, hope, and love. We need a tremendous release of faith, hope, and love through these principles. I didn't say that these values are restricted only to Christians, but Christians hang a whole lot on these three principles: faith, hope, and love. But I would personally like to encourage us as we pursue those values as a nation, as community, as families. We ought to be aware of the necessity of something called courage. This is how the Greeks define courage. They said it's also called fortitude. And it is the capacity to do what is right or necessary, even in the face of adversity. The ability to do what is right, or the capacity to do what is right, or what is necessary, even in the face of adversity. Could we all get on board? Could we all become courageous to pursue the different levels we must pursue to cross the bridges that we need to cross together? We need men, women, and young people with great courage. I would like to pass it.
Every time we are about to make progress in life, and the only reason, Bishop, I heard you make this observation, every time you're about to make progress in life, there's a devil who always seeks to put stumbling blocks in your way. And it seems as if the only way you're going to be able to move forward, get to the next level, accomplish, achieve, is by being courageous and doing what is right and pressing through to get there. Fear won't get you there. Fear brings torment. It is faith which comes out of our courage and our persistence that really gets us there. And so, as an individual, I have found, for me to progress, I need this courage. As the head and the leader of my family, I have found, for us to progress, I need this courage. As a vibrant individual in my community, I found that for my community to move forward, I need this courage. And I can confess that as a nation and as a people, we need this courage. And so it is something we will have to cultivate as a people, even in this atmosphere of renewal and this atmosphere of enthusiasm and progress. Courage has now become a very critical part of our life.
The expectation of the masses, as we talk about forgiveness and working together, the expectation of the masses is an issue that we will have to grapple with. And so the whole notion of courage and leadership is essential to resolving those issues. I've heard terms like inclusivity, extension of the olive branch, and all these different terms, which speaks of us working together, which speaks of us forgiving each other. And so healing needs to take place. But then on both sides of the coin, there would be those who would rather to see things going the way culture demands it to be. And we can't hold on to culture at the perils of the nation. We need to let go of those expectations. And we need to take courage. We need to be bold. You know, God said to Joshua to be bold and to be courageous and to be strong. And we need to have those values within as we go forward as a nation.
Doing what is right.
Doing what is right.
In the face of
adversity.
Doing what is right.
That is exactly what we need.
That requires some personal and deep strength to be able to do so. If not, you'll go. My mom used to say, it takes a living fish to swim against the tide. A dead fish can never swim against the tide. So it requires that kind of strength and boldness to do so.
I think that there's quite, not only think, I see, there's quite a lot of optimism around. And this is the ideal time for us to really go forward. I love planting. And you know, when you bury the seed beneath the earth, it takes strength for that seed to really push through. Once it, germinates, it pushes through and to come to the fore. And then we all blessed because of the resilience, because of the strength and the determination of that seed to push against all the odds and to come out on top. And it blesses us eventually with wonderful fruit. We have some difficult issues and challenges facing us presently, not only internally, but externally also. And I think this is the ideal time for us to come together, bring all of our resources together, bring all of our ideas, and really move forward. So the stronger we are internally, the more united we are internally, then we will not only demonstrate to the world that we're united people, but we'll be able to fight against those adversities that want to hit us from outside.
I like that analogy. And it simply means that from a personal vantage point, an individual has to make a choice if they will be a part of this whole, I don't like to call it a problem, but this situation. The situation that we confront, that we're facing with, is not an individual thing, it's a national and beyond. So what we need to be aware of is how an individual is prepared to humble themselves and do something for the national benefit. I think that's where forgiveness begins, because if I offended you and I come to you and you accept the forgiveness, we can start a relationship all over again. But if I don't come to you and you know that we need to make some progress, come on, let's start. When you come to me, I still have to make a decision as to whether we can do something.
It starts with the individual, but then move to the community, and then nationally. We all must work together, and we remember our national song, Let Us Cooperate for Guyana. Let us cooperate for this region, because we are speaking to our entire Caribbean region. Let us strive to push for social justice. And, if we are going to achieve social justice within our society, we must have corrective justice and distributive justice, because we have to see what is wrong and what went wrong and when that thing went wrong, and sit and find ways to correct it. And when we correct it, we have to distribute, in a manner that will be fair and just. Now is the time for our society to really push forward and to break from the shackles of the past. Let us do this together.
You know what's amazing? I think it was last Sunday, during the course of this week also, last week, persons came out in the rain, Pastor. Persons who physically, when you look at them, their physical structure, they seem unable to be doing the task that they're doing. But there is something when you engender a will, a strength, a desire within people, a whole new drive takes hold of that person. And in spite of physical limitation, sometimes we look at physical limitation and it limits us, it hinders us from doing some really great things. But when you engender that desire and that internal strength within someone, then you are amazed at what they can do. So what we're talking about here is that internal change. We're talking here about forgiveness. We're talking about justice. We're talking about mercy. Not things that you will see, on the outside as well, but it starts with a change of heart, a change of mindset, a change of thinking. And those are the things that we want to advocate if we're going to go forward.
The whole concept, as we mentioned, courage earlier, it is so important because you have a sense sometimes that people know what they ought to do, but they're not courageous enough to do what they know. Yeah. And that is so important. And this is the time when people need to break out of the box. Sometimes you feel comfortable in your little space and based upon who you feel protecting you and so on. But you would never know the possibilities of progress and development until you come out of that box. And you know, I am coming back to mind. I remember when Jesus said to I think it's Peter, the fisherman, he said, launch out into the deep. You know, because in the corner, you're hiding in a little corner, there could be no real progress for you, for the nation, for your community. But when you come out and you say, look, together let's go into the deep. And the scripture tells us that they caught, you know, lots of fish that time when they responded to the call to be courageous and to launch out. And so we're saying, you know, in certain terms, you know, to the people of this nation, the time has come for us to come together, go out into the deep, and make the progress that we want to make.
Well, we those examples you give, they really exemplify these cardinal principles of faith, hope, launch out, faith, because these are experienced men who, based on the experience, you will not catch anything out there, but at your command.
Yeah.
It's faith. That's faith. And at your command, we can do something in this nation. He commands a blessing. He commands that we come together as one. And by faith, those who hear will be able to respond. He commands. And as we are obedient, we will see a great sign of hope. For example, as I travel along the east bank of the Demerara, I was amazed that all those plastic bottles and styrofoam boxes that I had grown accustomed to be fuming with myself and fuming with people I don't even know, they're not there. So those are signs of hope. I would like us to clear the cemetery again, with some degree of consistency. I would like us to stop throwing these bottles through the window. I would like us to stop throwing styrofoam boxes through the window of cars and those kinds of things. Our canals must be free. That's not a governmental problem. That's a self-discipline, lack of self-discipline. And we need to come back in this whole area. Now, when we talk about forgiveness, people ask, forgiveness for what? People ask, who will forgive? And how far are you ready to go back? You're prepared to go back to deal with the acts of we talk about community and national forgiveness. You know, a story I read, I met this South African bishop in Hawaii, and he told me a story that came out of the apartheid, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And the South African police then, they really were guilty of excesses that was staggering in mind. And in this one instance, they came to this home and they took, this woman had, she and her husband had a son, and they took him and they beat him right in front of the parents. The next time when they returned, they took him away. They never saw their son again. She remembered the officer, the white officer, who was responsible for this dastardly act. And she thought in their grief that that was the end of it. But he returned subsequently and did the same thing to her husband. He dragged him away. They found his body burnt in some dirt, some ditch. He was brutally murdered and partially burnt. She was in the courtroom, this as they were seeking reconciliation. And here was the man who was responsible for killing her husband and her son. And the judge asked this lady if she had anything to say before sentencing this gentleman. And she said, yes, Your Honor. And she looked at at the gentleman, the accused, and she said, I would love for this man to come and visit with me every day. I would prepare meals for him like I would have done for my son and my husband. I have no one else. And I would like him to come every day so I could hug him and I could take good care of him for the rest of my life. Now, when they looked across to see this man who was able to demonstrate such venom and hatred, he passed out in the box. When he heard what she requested, she was fighting hatred, murder, malice with love, with compassion. And perhaps as a people and as a nation, we need, I don't know that we've had those kinds of excesses, but I don't know everything. But what we need to explore these other realms. Anger and hatred are destructive forces. We need to see how best we can stay far away from those forces. We need to include in our conversation, or community conversation, or family conversation, or national conversation, a place where we move from this hatred and mistrust to learning how to trust again, to learning how to believe again, to learning how to hope again. And I think we can do it.
You out there, brethren, my brother, my sister, let me talk to you for a little bit. You have experienced this grace of God. You have been washed. You have been sanctified. You have been justified by the Lord Jesus Christ, by the Savior. Now it is time for you to become that force, that centrifugal force, to go out there and pass this message of love, this message of hope, this message of courage. We have to go and do the will of God and be an example so that people can see, well, yes, this thing can be done. I challenge you.
You see, Bishop, 5 of us, there's a question to you, sir. 5 of us went and do a robbery. We commit a robbery, and
This is a scenario.
this
This is the high five
we commit a robbery. Now, and we would like to be forgiven. Do we have to be forgiven, give back that money to the person, or just ask forgiveness from God? What is the right way?
Well, the right way is that, if I can borrow the words of a famous gentleman in this country, if you do the crime, you do the time. In that process, there will be forgiveness. In that process, because those is a hypothetical case you're raising. And those people will have to go before the courts, because this whole question of justice speaks about fairness, honesty, and the rule of law. And so it's not just saying, I'm sorry, but going through the rule of law, due process must take place. And during that process, remorse could be expressed before the magistrate or the judge. Then the people who might have done something like that would be remorseful and ask forgiveness, and perhaps in that environment, the magistrate would then respond accordingly. Instead of a heavy hand, a lighter hand, in order to teach not just those sinners, but others who are contemplating such action.
Mind you, that magistrate would be a creature of statute. So he would have to work, or she, within the confine of the law.
I believe that forgiveness is a critical part of our nation for the advancement of our nation. Looking at the family level, I had an issue with my dad who had done me something that I couldn't forgive him, or I thought I couldn't. And that kept me down all the time. I couldn't advance, I couldn't go forward until I forgive him. And in forgiving him, we were able to establish our relationship again and move forward. And so I believe in Guyana that is critical for an advancement, for progress. We all need to forgive. And it begins with the leaders. And I think that as we go forward and we forgive each other, we will see numerous advancement in our land.
You see, as Pastor Bell said, that's the powerful thing about forgiveness. It brings healing. You see, a lot of us, when we remember all these things, we carry this bitterness and we have this resentment. And it affects us. We become sick. And a lot of times when we think about forgiveness, we think it's really about something we extend to the person who hurt us. But forgiveness, first and foremost, is really about us. It benefits us. Because we can now move forward and we are no longer stuck in the past. So I'm urging us all, let's learn to forgive.
Yeah, I just want to leave a quote with us before we go from renowned Nelson Mandela. As I walk out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. Just thought I needed to share that with us.
You, as an individual, as a family, as a community, as a leader of some sort, leader of men, women, children, political leader, free yourself from the prison of bitterness and hatred. And so all your followers will be free indeed. We'll see you next week. God bless you.
We thank you for being part of Choices. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly for any of our regular weekly services. I'm Salisha on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.